Hi, I'm George Swift. I'm an empowerment coach from the UK, bigger, brighter, bolder. I'm also a firewalk instructor, and I work with individuals and businesses in overcoming fear and to help them to take the actions and to create the life and the business that they choose. I think it's fair to say that fear is our biggest manipulator in terms of the actions we get to take in life, and the results we get in life are determined by the actions that we take. Fear is a response that goes back to our earliest forms through evolution. It's there to keep us safe, and generally safe means to sort of stay put and to stay where you are, and it tends to resist us making changes and resists us taking chances, I suppose. The moment we think that we're going to get potentially a bad outcome or a negative outcome, the chances are we're going to get a fear response. And that fear response is really to stop us from taking the action. So we see it in everyone's life, you know, general public and people, but within business specifically, it can make a business very slow to change. It can make a business very slow to adapt to a climate or to adapt to a cultural change. It can make people aggressive. So with fear, we talk about the fight or flight response. And if we're not running away and hiding, then the chances are we're going to be attacking. And within a business environment, it's unlikely to be physically attacking each other, I hope. But you will find that you'll get infighting or you'll get aggression and that kind of behavior. Sometimes what you'll see is some dishonest behavior. So it's people trying to protect themselves. People looking out for their own sort of well-being, which isn't necessarily the best for the company at large. One of the biggest messages I try and get across to people is that fear's not real. Fear is an experience inside you, and fear is a concoction of chemicals. It's a biological function. And it's just an internal feeling that we have, and I use the phrase over and over again, it's just chemicals, to get people that when they start to feel that fear, they immediately start the mantra in their head, which is it's just chemicals, because in the moment when we're having the feeling, the fear or the chemical hit, it feels very real and it feels very tangible and sort of touchable. And the moment you get to say to yourself, it's just chemicals, it's not real, immediately that starts to change your perception of what's going on, and because of that it starts to change your chemical compound, so you start to feel less fearful. And it also enables you to take action or to make your own choices even though you're feeling fearful. When you think the fear is real, the chances are you're going to be manipulated by that fear to not do something or to be aggressive or what have you. When you realise it's just a chemical, it empowers you to be what I always say, a human being, which is to make your own choices despite the chemicals. I think uncertainty in business is a big thing that we deal with at the moment, whether it be big businesses or corporates, or whether it be sort of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. I think the world at the moment is reporting a lot of fearful information and data, you know, and I think if we buy into that and we believe into that and we believe that something bad's going to happen financially or we're at risk, then obviously we're going to get the fear response. The downside to that is fear was meant for us in the wild. It wasn't meant for us as civilized human beings. It was meant as the animal. So when we had a fear response, we were supposed to run away or hide or attack. Obviously, in a business and in financial terms, the last thing you want to do is run away from your problem. You definitely don't want to be attacking it, you know, in terms of fighting it, which is what some people tend to do in business and become very overly aggressive. and hiding's just not an option. So if we're getting a fear response in a business environment, it's completely misappropriate. Because what we want to be doing, obviously, is we want to see the bigger picture, we want to be calmer, we want to be able to make intelligent choices. The second you've got fear in your bloodstream, your ability to do that goes down hugely. So it's a completely redundant experience to be having. It's a very real experience, in terms of how you feel, but it's a completely redundant experience in terms of the environment you're in. I always say there's two ways of really overcoming fear. I also say, however, it's almost impossible to overcome fear because fear is a chemical response that's been with us for millions of years. But in terms of any given situation where you're feeling fearful, the first thing to do is definitely remember it's just chemicals. It's really important. All my clients back in the UK, they bore themselves senseless, always saying to themselves, it's just chemicals, it's just chemicals. And just that mantra, believe it or not, has had huge impact on people because it gives them the awareness that it's not real in that moment. The experience they're having is a chemical release, it's not real. The next thing to do is to be aware that you have choices. You don't have to act from fear. You have choices. And then it's really deciding for yourself as an intelligent business person, what are the actions you're going to take? And then really it's a case of just getting in or getting out. And what I say to people is when you're hanging on the end of a decision, or you're hanging on sort of not making a choice but not making a choice, if that makes any sense, that's where the pain is and the frustration. Once you become really clear about what it is you need to do, normally that's enough, especially when you realise that the fear is not real. That's enough to be able to take the action. If it's not, then you've got a choice, which is either do it or don't do it. But either way, be conscious of it, make a choice. And I always say that empowerment, which is what I am, an empowerment coach, empowerment isn't the absence of fear. Empowerment is the presence of choice in the face of fear. And I think when you realise that, and you realise that actually to be an empowered person or an empowered person in business, it's about realising that you still have a choice how to act, how to behave, what to do, despite what chemicals are running riot in your brain at any particular time.